A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim. Ghayril maghdubi alaihim waladdallin. Amen. Allah, please expand for my chest and ease for me my task, and untie the knot from my tongue, that they may understand my speech. Amen. All right, y'all. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A hero dies once. Let's get into this. All right, so we start with the word coward. Coward, the etymology comes from Old French coward, C-O-U-A-R-D. And what that means is the tail, okay? It's a suffix. Well, it's two words put together, C-O-U and then A-R-D. The A-R-D marks one who is characterized by a quality. A coward is literally a creature that shows the tail. It's an animal that turns and runs, not the one who faces danger, apex style like that. It's the one who faces truth without stomach. He can't handle it. Notice what the modern world did to this word. We softened it, named it anxiety, called it self-preservation, called it being realistic. It's like the word received some kind of therapeutic framework to make it okay. It's not okay. A coward is a man who turns his back on truth because the truth costs him something. Now let's go to the word dies. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A hero dies once. Dies comes from the Proto-Germanic word dojanan, and it means to stop, to cease, to go dark, to the natural state of existence, right? But it's a little something extra that the dictionary, you won't find it in the dictionary. Dying is a process, it's not just an event. A candle dies, a signal dies, a connection dies. You can die in pieces. You can die daily. You can lose function incrementally while your heart's still beating, your lungs still pulling air. A coward, they know this all too well. They know this intimately. He experiences death like a subscription, not a sentence. A coward dies 1,000 deaths. A hero dies 1,000. In Hebrew, the word elef means both 1,000 and a clan, like a crew, a multitude. So in the ancient world, 1,000 was not a literal count. It was a language of accumulation beyond reckoning, like a lot, like so much, right? So every time a coward is being a coward and he retreats, he adds to the count. Every lie told in the daylight, every truth avoided at night, every handshake extended to a man you just betrayed behind his back, the number grows and the man shrinks. A coward dies 1,000 times, a hero dies once. Dies. Death. Plural. This is very critical. Not just one death, but many. Each are distinct, each costing something very specific. The death of your word, the death of your name, the death of your presence in a room, the death of what your children see when they look at you, the death of the man you plan to be. Each death is a withdrawal from the account, and the account is not infinite, all right? A coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero dies once. Hero, from the Greek heros, a defender, a protector, one who serves, not a conqueror though, and not a spectacle. The root connects to the concept of watching over or standing in between harm and the ones that you love. Now the hero is not the loudest man in the room. The attention, the energy is on him. And it's not because he's performing, it's because he's so damn committed. You feel him. A coward dies 1,000 deaths, a hero dies once. That's from Old English anas, A-N-E-S. One time, a single occasion. The word once, it carries the weight of totality. Once means no dress rehearsal. It's a freestyle, baby. No negotiation, no second position. Once is what a man says when he already decided. Once is the language of the committed. Now let's tie it together. A coward is a man who turns from the truth. And because he turns from the truth, he dies in pieces, in accumulations, in 1,000 tiny surrenders that compound over a lifetime. A hero is a man who committed to serving truth at every cost. He dies once, completely. Death of the ego, death of his comfort, death of his need to be understood, approved of, protected. He dies that death consciously. From that single death, he is reborn into function. Now, being a coward is not the one whose absence of physical bravery, because if a man runs from a fight, that's very obvious. That's easy to identify and that's easy to judge. That's not what we're talking about tonight. That's too simple. What we're talking about is a coward that actually trains. You know, maybe he looks pretty good. He got a physique. He could throw hands a little bit, right? He got a little bit of money in his pocket, right? He got some followers. He has some charisma, right? People like him. People tend to like him, right? This is the man who talks about discipline and then breaks every promise that he made to himself at midnight. Nobody's watching. So the real coward is not that outward coward, right? It's the one that's inside of us, right? And that coward is far more dangerous than the one who just runs from a fist fight. The coward in us lives in contradiction. He says one thing and he does another. He believes one thing and performs another. He wants one thing, but he chooses another. And he's been doing that for so long, he doesn't even realize he's doing it. It just becomes who he is. That gap, that's a gap that he don't feel, and that gap is where he dies. Every time that a man knows the truth and he says something else, he dies. Every time that he knows his word needs to hold and he lets it break, he dies. Every time he sees injustice and he calculates like the social cost and he's trying to be calculative about where he stands, I'm about to say something bad, but F him, he dies, right? Every time that he sees a man that he don't like, that he talks bad about, and he shakes his hand, he laughs, he cracks jokes, but when he see that man, it's all respect, he dies. He's a coward. He got to look himself in the mirror at night, right? Every time, if he's talking to people, he has an audience and he's telling them about discipline, but he indulges in the exact thing that he preaches against, he dies. 1,000 times, 10,000 times. A man can stack up so many deaths that what walks around in his body is not even him. It's a residue of a man. It's a ghost in the architecture of a person, all right? So that's a coward. Let's define what a hero is. I hate to break it to you, all my tough, strong people out there, but a hero is not the man without fear, because that man does not exist. A hero is a man who has located something worth dying for. He's articulated something worth dying for. He's committed himself to something that is worth dying for. And because he's found it, that man is willing to die once, a complete death, total, without negotiation. So what does that death look like? It looks like a man who submits his ego to truth one time, fully, not as a feeling, as a structure. He builds his life on what is real, not on what is comfortable. He says what he actually means. He's gonna ruffle feathers, so what? He's gonna make people uncomfortable, so what? If you don't care about them and you don't care about yourself. This type of man that we're talking about, this hero, he does what he actually believes and he honors what he actually values. And when reality demands something hard from him, he's not looking at the exit. He steps into it. This hero dies once because he's already given up the thing that the coward is spending 1,000 deaths trying to protect. What is that thing, Mike Rashid? It's this false self. The coward spends his entire life protecting an image, a reputation, a version of himself that the crowd accepts. He pours every resource into maintaining this projection, right? This archetype that he's constructed in his mind. And every time that reality threatens that projection, he retreats. He lies, he spins, he runs, he disappears. He attacks the person who asked the question. He posts something motivational. He does anything except tell the truth, because the truth will kill his image. And that image, unfortunately, that's all he got. This coward is at its source code. It's not weakness of the body. It's an absence of your ability to govern yourself. When a man does not have the ability to govern himself, that means he has no internal hierarchy over what's true and what must be honored above everything else. He becomes reactive. He becomes like a thermostat. He's not a furnace. He doesn't generate that energy, right? He responds to temperature of the room instead of setting it. And fellas, you're supposed to set the temperature in a room. That's a temperature in your relationships, right? Now, more about this man. This type of man, he's loud when he shouldn't be. He's passive. And fellas, no, be dangerous, right? He's indulgent where he should be precise. He's pretending. He's performing. He's not building anything. And he just consumes. Look, you got two types of people in this world, producers and consumers. Producers create things. Consumers just buy, eat, take, right? This kind of man talks so much. He just explains and explains, but he never demonstrates. Listen, you have to shut up or be able to shut up in order to do the things. Sometimes we got to be quiet and work and lead by action, right? So that man and those thousands of deaths, they just mount up, right? The coward confuses, right? Confusion is where the cowardice begins. That's the software error that corrupts the whole system. This kind of man, he confuses his feelings with truth. And this is a deep confusion because he's been told to trust his feelings for so long, he can't separate his emotional weather from the actual climate. He mistakes his fear for wisdom, right? If he's mad, he's angry, that's justice to him. He's led by his desires, and that's his direction, but that's not the vibration. And because he can't tell the difference, he cannot be trusted by himself or anybody else. The crazy thing about this kind of man is he wants to be wealthy, but he worships pleasure. All he does is things and activities that get him to pleasure. I'm gonna give you some real game. It's so simple. Wealth is deferred gratification at scale. I'm gonna run that back. Wealth is deferred gratification at scale, but pleasure is a coward's currency. That's his oxygen. Immediate, cheap pleasure too, and spend everything that he will need tomorrow to have pleasure right now. Taco Tuesday, weird shit Wednesday, and so on and so forth. See, and this kind of dude, he wants the truth, but he avoids correction. He ain't trying to hear nothing from nobody, because correction is a mirror, and the truth hurt. And a coward can't stand his own reflection. He hates it. Who loves a coward? Not even a coward. And the biggest thing is this, y'all, like, a coward, I don't know if they think they want God, but they say they want God. They refuse to submit. And that's the deepest form of being a coward. To know what's required and refuse to kneel, to claim the destination without walking the path. That's not a thing. You can lie to everybody else. You can't lie to yourself. You can't lie to the Creator. A hero dies once. A hero kneels, submits, surrenders the false self completely. Get it off of me. And from that surrender, he gets to live as something real. The world didn't produce the hero. The world produces a factory for cowards. I want y'all to really understand the architecture of what you are living inside. I'm not being metaphorical. I'm telling y'all actual engineering. The modern information environment is designed to exploit the coward psychology. It profits from that gap between who you are and who you're trying to be. It feeds that gap and it widens it. It sells you content that validates the projection and accelerates the decay of the real. Here's how the machine works. You feel a gap inside, something feels unresolved, some covenant you're not keeping. The gap produces an ache. The ache produces a need. The need searches for relief. Listen to me, y'all. There's a relief that you're desiring, right? And the machine, the algorithm, it offers stimulation instead of resolution. So you scroll, you watch, you react, you perform, and you confuse the stimulation for relief. But you're not relieved, you're just distracted, and the gap grows. This is the algorithm's business model. It's not to solve your problem. It's to extend your problem long enough to sell you something, right? A coward is very profitable because your confusion is profitable. The ache of that gap, of your lack, that's the engine. Now look at what this world produced in this modern man, this coward. This coward, he will be bold enough to act like he's getting up early in the morning to do the things, but really he's indulging, right? He talks too much, right? Listen, y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all some real game. When a man is uncertain about his own truth, he's just vomiting words, right? He's explaining himself before he's even questioned. He's defending himself before he's accused. It's like he pre-justifies every decision. He over-communicates his intentions to manage how he's perceived. If you're really tapped in and you're in tune and in alignment, I already told y'all, you see through those words. You don't even want to listen. Whenever I do a podcast, Mike Rashid, tell me about who are you? It's pointless for me to answer that question. You tell me who I am, because my words can say anything. What matters is the person that you perceive, who I am to you, my last interaction with you, what impression did I leave on you? You determine that, not me, okay? This is that energetic communication, not verbal communication. That's inferior. Because when a person is just describing themselves and telling you what kind of person, it's just bullshit. It's noise, right? That's a person who don't trust his own foundation, and he just don't have one. Because a person with a solid foundation, he do not need to explain himself constantly. His actions do the speaking. And he's precise with his words because he knows that words are currency, and he does not spend what he does not have. Also, this modern man, coward, he posts too much. I'm sick of this. The post is like the modern man's substitute for the deed. Post the training, post the sacrifice, post God, post family, right? Somebody really had the nerves to ask me on YouTube on a post, why haven't I seen a picture of your son lately? I'm like, excuse me? What's up with you and Simeon Panda? What's up with you and CT and Big Rob? Family, family, family. I'm not that guy. I am not with my friends and my people taking pictures. I won't even be on my phone. My life, I do not justify it with anybody. I don't answer to nobody but my children, my woman, and my parents, and Allah, okay? So you're not gonna see me trying to paint a picture of my life for the internet. I'm not doing that, okay? And I don't want y'all to be doing that either, because the time that a person spends curating content neglects the reality behind it, right? So your body ain't really trained like that. Your mind is not trained. That sacrifice ain't really made. The prayer is not actually kept. The family is not actually served. The post becomes the coward's absolution. He confesses publicly what he's feeling privately, and he's saying like, yo, I'm being vulnerable. I'm being transparent with y'all. I think it's performance. I don't think I know it's performance. And this modern man, coward, he also indulges too much. Every indulgence is a vote for the false self. It's keeping that false self alive. Every time he chooses the comfortable option, the appetizing option, the path of least resistance, he's creating a ballot for the coward. He's being weak. He's not fortifying himself, right? He's telling his nervous system that, hey, comfort is king. A man whose nervous system believes comfort is king cannot be trusted when the pressure arrives. He's gonna break. Pressure produces diamonds or bust pipes. I gotta shout out to T for that. He told me that years ago. It's so real, y'all. It's so real. Pressure always is gonna show up. You can try to avoid it all you want. Them tough conversations, right? Paying your taxes, right? Whatever. Paying off your credit. It's not going anywhere. I look at it like David and Goliath. I gotta rewind this back to when I was probably about 4th or 5th grade, my first fight. First time I got in a fight at school. I'm a little guy, I'm skinny. And this guy was what we would perceive as a bully. It's funny because we didn't have that term back then. Do you remember that back in the day? Nobody talked about bullies, right? If you had to fight, you had to fight. So I had to fight this guy. And was I scared? Absolutely yes. Yes, I was. Terrified. He's big. And we got into it early in the day, right? So the worst thing is looking at that clock all day till it tick down to 3 o'clock. It seems like it's taking forever, right? So I'm gonna give you a little bit of context. I was in boxing at a very early age. So this is not 5th grade, this is like 6th or 7th grade actually. So now I've been in little fights in the neighborhood, but at school with a big kid, first time, terrifying. So I box, but boxing is not in school, so nobody really knows. So I have, some technical foundation with my hands. So 3 o'clock comes, I go over to where he's at. I'm scared. I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I was scared, right? So I square up. This guy was just talking, saying all these disrespectful things. I'm like, what is he talking for? And he was like, you really you don't want to fight me? I'm like, but I'm here. Like, I don't want to fight, but I'm here. I didn't say nothing. I'm just like, what's up? He's talking, and I realized something. I'm like, I don't think he really want to fight because this equation doesn't make sense, right? So it got to where he had to square up. And I look at his stance, and I'm like, oh, he don't know how to fight. Listen, y'all, I figured out so much about life in that small instance right there. This is what I figured out. This big, scary looking dude, that's Goliath, right? I'm the little guy, I'm David. Goliath is an archetype for every problem that we have. Everything that seems scary, it seems terrifying, it seems daunting, right? And we're small, it's unfamiliar territories. I walked to Goliath and whooped his ass. Easy. And I've applied that over the years to everything in my life that's a bully, that pressure, because it's never as bad as it looks, right? I'll take it to the streets. I had 2 really big cases, criminal cases. When you look at your initial charges, you think you want to prison for life. They write down everything. It's never that bad. They're just trying to scare you to punk out, to not fight it, take a plea, okay? They'll never, you take it, as you keep going further and further, getting closer to fight the giant, slay the dragon, they start taking stuff off, see if you want to cop out. They taking it off because they know they'll lose. You see what I'm saying? But that's with everything in life. Ain't nothing, I don't care, the bigger it is, the better. Because once you walk through it, knock them down, your story is that much more glorious. It's that much greater. So when you have a bully, when you have a Goliath, run to it, like for real. I've done this enough times in my life to where I'm not even, now I'm gonna tell you this, I'm a person that is aligned. There's been times in my life that I wasn't, that I drifted. There's times that I was being a coward, not facing my responsibilities, keeping up a false image of myself, what I thought was supposed to be the guy, the man, right? It was destructive, it was weak, it was stupid, it was pathetic. I killed that weak version, I killed that coward. A good majority of my life, I'm aligned. And when you aligned, whatever issue you got, walk to it because you're doing the work behind the scenes, okay? So have that kind of confidence. But like I said, pressure is always gonna show up. All it is something that you could thank God for because it fortifies you. It makes you stronger. Every test we get, thank you, Allah, alhamdulillah. And another thing about this modern man, this coward, is he complains too much. Listen, complaining is literally like the language of a coward, right? Especially when they do it habitually and the coward complains. Look, we all point things out in our lives, right? But a coward does it habitually and he won't do nothing to fix what he's complaining about. He wants credit for seeing a problem and that's it. Like he feel like he's really did something because he can call something out. That is the loudest form of doing nothing. The modern man, this modern coward, he quits too easy, right? The pressure is where the coward really reveals himself. It ain't gotta be no catastrophic pressure either. It could be the pressure of a conversation that ain't going his way. The pressure of a season where the results are not arriving on schedule like he think it should. Or the pressure of a relationship demanding more than he prepared to have. The coward collapses under that pressure. Not all at once either, just in stages. The first thing is he avoids it, then he deflects, then he starts rationalizing, and then he's out of there, he quits. And then he puts together this little narrative that makes the quitting sound like, you know, this is wise. I just know when to walk away. I'm protecting my peace. All right, okay. That was not aligned with where I'm going. Bumbleclot. Listen, get your self-care and your affirmations up on my face. Go. If you want to be a coward, go. All right? A coward collapses under pressure because he has no inner government. Like I said, there's no hierarchy inside. There's no clear chain of command between the higher self and the lower self. He has no established law of what is true that supersedes what's comfortable, and no standard that holds when the crowd is not watching. I had a shirt back in the day that said, "Do champion shit when nobody's watching." That's when it matters. It really don't matter when people are watching you. It does not matter, okay? Because most of the time when people watching you performing, you can do a little bit better, right? What are you doing when nobody's around? So that standard, your standard should not be for when they looking. Stop caring, okay? Stop caring. Without inner government, the man is governed by whoever is around him, whoever's in the room, by whatever feeling that he's feeling the heaviest or the loudest. He's governed by whatever narrative protects him from accountability. He's not leading his life, he's being led by it. He's at the whim of whatever direction the wind blows. That's where he has to go. Now you gotta look at the spiritual dimension on this. A man without inner government cannot stand before Allah. Not because Allah will reject him, because he has no stable place from which to stand. This modern man has been shifting his position so long just to match the room that he can't hold still long enough to be present. And prayer requires stillness. Submission requires commitment. In Islam, Tawheed demands a unified man who can receive it. A fragmented man cannot receive any kind of unified truth. And this is why so many men have abandoned salah or prayer. And I don't think they're not believers. They believe. But prayer requires another level of honesty, okay? And honesty is the first casualty of cowardice. So when you stand in salah and you're not performing, you are reporting. You are standing before the knower of all things and accounting for what you are actually doing with what you have been given. The coward cannot maintain that accounting. The gap between his precision and his reality is oh so wide. So he avoids accountability entirely, and then he says, but Allah knows my heart. Yes, Allah knows the heart is in free fall. Can't fool Allah. Remember this, the issue is not death itself, because every man is going to die, and we should not fear it. The issue is how a man dies while he's still breathing. A coward dies 1,000 times. He dies in fragments. He dies every time he compromises, every time he lies. He dies every time he betrays what he knows is the truth for what feels convenient. The coward dies when he shakes the hand of a man that he actually hates in secret. He dies when he chooses image over integrity. He dies when he chooses comfort over command. He dies when he chooses his appetite over his assignment. That's how a coward dies 1,000 deaths. That's what that means. That person that dies 1,000 deaths is divided. They're unruled. They haven't made themselves obey what they claim that they believe. But on the other side, a hero dies once. Why? Why once, Michael Sheed? Because the hero already killed the coward inside of him. He already put his lust on trial. He already crucified his vanity. He buried those excuses. He already submitted his lower nature to a higher law. So by the time that physical death comes, it ain't nothing left to negotiate. He already told the truth. He already stood on principle. He already made peace with obedience. He already chosen Allah over self. And that is the one difference. One man keeps dying because he keeps abandoning himself. The other dies once because he's already become one with his word. So don't ask whether you're still alive. Ask yourself, what in you is still dying every day? The lie, fear, the appetite, the coward, or your discipline, your standard, or your soul. Because a real hero will either kill what is false within him, or he will be killed by it in pieces for the rest of his life. A word to the wise is sufficient. Assalamu alaikum.